So in addition to our service principles and cultural principles, at Team Rubicon, we have nothing if we don't have lists. But we have three rules. And rule number one, and you'll hear it often, people will more often than not just say, hey, rule one violation if someone is being a dick. But the objective is not just for you not to behave like a dick, but the fact that somebody else is being a dick doesn't give you the right to be one. Rule number two, get shit done. Well, this is also one of our cultural principles. So, and nobody screamed in horror at the language when I did that. And then rule number three, when we do something, let's get it right. Okay? All right. So let's dive in a little bit into how things are different in 2020 than they were in 2019 and before because of the pandemic. Because of an abundance of safety, a lot of the training, service projects, and events that we had scheduled have been put on ice because of the safety of gathering people in one place. We have enhanced our online training opportunities, and one of the things that I'm going to do in the Linkorama is I've got a nice handy-dandy cheat sheet that lists all of the online training opportunities, and those opportunities fall into a couple of buckets, and we'll talk about those buckets in just a little bit. We've got guidelines for safe operation in the COVID pandemic world related to social distancing, related to PPE. It was kind of strange because when the pandemic started to reach its peak earlier in the spring, we donated huge amounts of N95 masks and other PPE pieces to local hospitals and agencies. And now that we're out in the field, we're not competing against those folks, but we're sourcing it and making sure that everybody stays out there. We're maintaining restrictions based on age and geography. Those relate to level of risk. Someone who's older, like myself, being over age 65, I can't go down to Louisiana or Alabama to serve in the response, which is making me a little bit crazy, but doing my best to help with what I can help with in the background. So even though we have restrictions based on our guidelines, we're doing our best to respect what all the states' requirements are for travel between states. We're still managing to get shit done during the pandemic. Questions, comments about that? Okay. Let me talk about training fundamentals. Okay. These fundamentals are the classes that I recommend and lots of other gray shirts recommend that you take to build up your own personal core competencies. There's deployment readiness classes, which this is one of them, and there are some being offered locally. We had a series of trainings in Jersey. I know there was some in Virginia and the DC area also. There are a couple of classes that are online and things that are yellow or online in site survey and reconnaissance and recon and advon. Recon and advon answers the question we had earlier about how do we spin up an operation, what's the process there, and site survey is, well, when we get to the disaster area, how do we assess what are we going to do to serve individual homeowners? So the site survey process takes place after we're already on the ground and have committed to the operation and are now going from home to home to assess what we can do for individual homeowners. Now, core operations, there's a picture of a core operations class that you can see there. what we're doing is learning. Now that drywall is dry. Often we'll do this on drywall that's probably been flooded, but what we can do to safely cut drywall, where to cut drywall, how not to get electrocuted while cutting drywall, etc. That's really a hands-on class. There's a prerequisite for it that is online. I encourage you to take that class, and that would get you ready for the Core Ops class. Core Ops is often being taught to newbie gray shirts on operations, and so there may be an opportunity for you to take that class if you're deployed. But there's probably nothing like learning how to do core operations by doing core operations as part of a strike team with a group of experienced gray shirts. So my recommendation, if you're looking for a place to get started online, Site Survey, Recon Advon, and the prereq for core operations. Again, the Linkorama will have links to all of that stuff. Questions on that? For those of you who may want to do some more advanced stuff, we've got position-specific classes for Command and General Staff. Now, if you haven't taken the ICS stuff, I'll just let you know Command and the General Staff are the folks who are running the operation, making sure that the logistics, that the operational details, planning, and safety are all being maintained at a proper level, that the documentation is taking place, that the battle rhythm is appropriate, etc. Planning, logistics, and safety officer are all positions we have online classes for. There are prerequisites for those. They may require already completing some advanced ICS classes. They may require completing an online class. So you may want to check those requirements. If it's something you have a background in and you may not have the prerequisite because it's an ICS class that's not available right now, check with your local leadership. They may be able to assist you in getting a waiver for that. Other areas that we normally provide in-person training is for TR Instructor 1, for folks who have a passion for a particular area and knowledge in a particular area and want to become instructors for us. That's one of the prerequisite classes. We've got Sawyer chainsaw operator classes at a number of levels. We've got heavy equipment operation. We've got Assist, which is our suicide intervention training. That's a weekend-long class. That's really an amazing class that not only equips you to help others, but to help yourself through stressful situations. Highly recommended, but again, limited because it is in person and we're not doing in-person classes now. And then, as William mentioned, there's the opportunity to do more advanced ICS classes for those who want to be considered for Command and General Staff or leadership opportunities in larger geographic areas. One of the things I noted, the reason for the 3 asterisks over there with next to Sawyer, is there is an online class for that is the first step in the Sawyer process that you can take. And then there's a possibility that if you're deployed, that there will be a Sawyer training opportunity at the operation. So if being a chainsaw operator is something that's of interest to you, take that pre-course online, and then you may just find the opportunity to learn practical chainsaw skills out there in the field at your first operation. Questions?
Yes, Neil, this is Juan.
Yeah.
For those that have interest in the Command and General Staff and have some experiences in some of the advanced ICS courses, what is your recommendation as to where to start? Is it online courses on TR, the prerequisites, or just reach out to your local leadership and let them know that your interest?
Okay, so if you've got some CNG experience, do you have ICS 300 or 400?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so those can be prerequisites. If you're interested, there are a couple of things. And I just want to note that we do our best to separate um, blue skies activities, the stuff that we do in advance of disasters and planning for disasters, from the gray skies, the actual disaster response stuff. Okay? So we have a need for leadership, for people who have experience with planning, logistics, operations, communications, etc., to serve in blue skies leadership roles, as well as training for the gray skies leadership roles. So if you're interested in the former, the blue skies roles, I'll show you where to find their names when we do the tour of roll call, how to contact your local leadership to say, hey, I want to step up and do this stuff for blue skies and be a local leader. For the gray skies stuff, it would be the online classes. So you would want to focus on the online classes that you can take, and I'll talk about those types of classes in a bit. But if you've got, for example, planning experience, and you want to pursue that, logistics experience, you want to pursue that, there are online classes, and there are more coming. The push to get these classes modified for online delivery is really hard, and our capabilities team is working really hard to release new classes for new training opportunities. Did that
Excellent.
answer your
Thank you.
question? Okay, good.
It
Anybody
does.
have?
Appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Anybody have a follow-up? You're going to find the training classes, and this, I post this graphic because it's kind of funny because it's the pathways for different types of positions out there at TR, both gray skies and blue skies. I put it because it's funny, not because it's useful. But there are two kinds of online training opportunities. One are self-paced. Those are things you can log in. You can, like TR101, take it at your convenience, finish it when you can. They're quick, half hour, 90 minutes tops, and you get it done and you get credit for it. There are approximately 40 classes. I know that because we had one gray shirt sign up a few months ago, and he took every class that was offered in the self-paced mode. Then there are live virtual classrooms such as this, in which there's an instructor. Some of those classes, like there's a lot, in addition to a self-paced Recon Advon class, there is a live Recon Advon class that runs, like this one does, about 3 to 4 hours. The planning section chief class is a day. The logistics section chief class is 2 full days, a Saturday and Sunday. So for the most part, the live classes are held on the weekend, and you would enroll on those in roll call, and I'll show you how to do that in just a couple of minutes. Okay? But there's opportunities for training to build your skills and get under the hood of what's happening at TR. Okay? Now, normally, during non-COVID times, we do lots of other things. We have opportunities we have social events, we have service projects. So for example, up here in Bergen County, New Jersey, we helped an American Legion Hall clean up their event space so they could rent the event space out and start making some money for a new roof, and have a clean place to have their meetings. But also, we now know we have been using that facility for some of our in-person training when we had in-person training, and we know that if there's a disaster in our area, there's a potential to use that American Legion Hall as a billet or a fob or both. We sometimes do rebuild activities, and there's some pictures on the right of rebuild activities that were done in the last few years from the continued recovery from Superstorm Sandy here in New Jersey. And then we also have, although they're fewer and far between, an opportunity for remote operations where folks can help do tracking, take phone calls from disaster survivors before we move into an operational area to help us get the scope of the disaster, especially if it's a large disaster, and work in collaboration with other agencies so we can say, hey, you guys gonna, Samaritan's Purse or someone else, here's your area, here's our area. We're not going to be stepping on each other's toes. A lot of these things, in fact, all of the live events have been suspended. I am really looking forward to seeing each and every one of you face to face at a live event sometime after we achieve the new normal. And unfortunately, because of the number of gray shirts who can't get out there in the field because of the pandemic, remote operations opportunities are kind of slim right now. But I wanted to let you know that those exist and something to look forward to in the future. Just a couple other quick things that I just want to mention. Two out of the three we've mentioned before. The Clay Hunt Fellowship is for our veterans who are looking for something more. It's a program that involves mentorship, where there are Team Rubicon appointed mentors. Each cadre works on a specific project to assist either a community or Team Rubicon in moving forward. There is a fellowship that goes with that, so there is some compensation for Clay Hunt Fellows. It really is one of the higher honors of an active TR gray shirt. So you may, if you're a veteran, you may want to look into the Clay Hunt opportunity. It's named after Clay Hunt, who was one of the gray shirts who went down with Jake to Haiti, who unfortunately succumbed to his post-traumatic stress several years ago. As mentioned before, there's volunteer leadership, and if there's an area in which you feel expert, you can become an instructor in it. And there are instructor pathways for that. There's also an opportunity to teach special skills. For example, although it's not a formal TR class, we've got gray shirts who are trained in teaching stop the bleed classes, for example. So local gray shirt metros or states can run classes on those areas, which are not exactly Team Rubicon training, but are definitely beneficial to our gray shirts. Questions on that? Just want to touch base on international ops. As mentioned before, we are a World Health Organization certified response team. We're the first non-governmental organization in North America to receive that certification. If you have some medical background and are interested, even if you don't have a medical background but are interested to see if there's needs for international operations, you can check that out on roll call and see if your skills match. It's an application process, a little more complex than domestic operations, and are limited if they're existing at all during the pandemic. Well, all of that said, everything up to now, I just want to add one more point to it, and that's for you to stay ready. Keep your profile up to date. Okay, you get a new cell phone and the number changes, you move to a new area, your emergency contact information changes, etc. Be sure to keep your profile information on roll call up to date. Do your best to participate in training on an ongoing basis. Again, there's nothing face-to-face, but if you can chip away at something a couple of times a month, that'll keep your skills sharp and keep your focus on Team Rubicon until there's more local opportunities for you. keep your go bag packed, and we're going to talk about your go bag, what you take on an operation with you. We're going to talk about that in our third segment. And when you keep your go bag packed, that doesn't mean that you got to have everything in one place, but know where your stuff is. So, for example, you don't want to get down to an operation and realize that you left your boots in the trunk of the car or some other vital piece of gear. You want to be able to put that go bag together because your deployment instructions may come at the very last moment. Make a plan, okay? For a lot of us, your family, your boss want to know where you are and where you're going to be when you're going to be there. So make a plan. Make sure your deployment is not a burden on your family. Make sure it's not a burden on your job. You want to be sure you have a job when you return. So work things out with your boss in advance, letting them know that you're a volunteer with Team Rubicon and you would like to have the opportunities to deploy. Talk it through. Different companies and different employers have different policies. Know what that policy is, and make sure all your ducks in a row when you do deploy. Don't let that car insurance payment lapse because it happened to be when you're out on deployment, and you won't be able to make that payment because there's no cell phone service where you're deployed. So make sure all your ducks in a row, and that your family, your employer, and other aspects of your life are in order so that you're ready to deploy. Questions before we jump into the demonstration of roll call? Then we're going to jump into the demo of roll call. Let's make sure it hasn't kicked me out. Bear with me a second.
Hi, Neil. Can I quickly speak on the deployment and then the urge to go deploy, like right now?
Please.
So essentially, like all of us, we want to deploy, right? But at the same time, there's no shortage of disasters. So if you can't deploy now, don't worry about it. There's always a next thing to go to. Unfortunately, the world is not short of disasters. So if you really, like Neil said, if you really can't go at this time, take some more trainings, hang out with Neil and William and Abby, and just kind of like, learn more on the go, and then trust me, the opportunity will come, and you don't have to kind of stress yourself. Oh my God, I have to deploy now because this is not the only opportunity to deploy. There's always going to be next time.
That's a really good point. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Okay. Someone confirmed for me that what you're looking at is a screen of the website of roll call, as opposed to.
That's correct.
Okay, great. As opposed to the whole
I
mess
see it.
that's my desktop. All right. Here's roll call. I've logged in, and this is the splash screen. This is a test account that I set up. One of the things that I do is I find bugs for the tech team. That doesn't make me their friend, but it does get a lot of stuff done. And finding bugs and keeping things together there. Excuse me just a moment. Okay, so here's the splash screen. I'm going to take you around the home page just a little bit and give you an idea of how to take advantage of roll call to get the answers to questions that you're looking for, and maybe even find some stuff that you're not looking for. First, if you look at the top, at the menu bar top, note that if your screen gets smaller, it collapses into the navigation icon here. This is what you'll see on mobile, and when you click on it, you get all of the items that you would otherwise find if your screen was wider. Okay? Let's take a look down the left-hand column real quick. This is your TR-ID. It's often asked for. I asked for it in the registration confirmation that I sent out to everybody. It's just your identifying number. Try to keep track of it. If you forget it, it's right there. Okay. This is the old region uh, 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 classification. It's what FEMA region, what FEMA disaster zone you're located in. We're using that less and less, but you're in the mighty Northeast Territory. My fake account hasn't done the background check, but we've got your some links here for your profile and transcript. We'll talk about the difference in those in just a moment. But this is something you want to look at. These are your TR points of contact. They're your Team Rubicon BFFs. The top name is where you start. That's the name of your metro leader. And then below that is the name of your state leader. Okay. Regional contact is going up the chain again, and then your territory contact, in this case, Brian Booman, is one of the paid employees, one of the associates in the Northeast Territory. In order of being able to get a response, the names at the top should be able to get back with you to answer your questions most quickly. And with the state being next, because their geographic responsibility expands. We've got a set of resources here that we're going to go through, and I'll jump into it unless there's a quick question on what I just said. Okay, we're going to go to the profile. And on your profile, your deployment profile is a lot of very basic information, and you should fill it all out completely, even if it's not something that is a required field, okay? Because some of that may be needed when you're ready, when you're called to deploy. So the first thing you want to do is look at the top here where it says to check out things on the Team Rubicon store. And this is the password hint, gray shirts always, for the items that are on the store that are only available to Team Rubicon members. So you know where you can look that up as much as possible, okay? Whenever possible, okay? Your address needs to get validated. So during your entering your address process, it should have asked for validation. So if you don't remember that taking place, you can go to edit your address, hit save again. If for some reason it's not validated, it will bounce back up to you. But pretty much the address validation is used to put your location accurately into the system so we know how far away you are from a disaster, etc. Basically what it does is fill in the zip plus 4 information and standardize your street and apartment number to the protocol that we use. Your contact information, this is fake, obviously. You would add your personal information, date of birth, whether you have a military affiliation or are civilian, your emergency contact information, which is essential if you're going to deploy, t-shirt size for additional gray shirts or other swag that may come your way, etc., etc. Airport status, what is your preferred airport, is going to be a requirement for getting sent out on a national operation. You may be asked for that information when you're asked to register but for the operation, but it's nice to have your defaults already listed here. Along with that, there are requests for things like dietary restrictions and whether you use a CPAP. CPAP machines are not, folks who need CPAPs are probably not going to get deployed during a response during COVID-19 because of the potential of spreading COVID viruses into the communal area. I know. Okay, let's look real quick at the links on the profile. You've got skills and experiences. These are things where you have an opportunity to take skills, add them based on category lookups. So I'm going to say I've got field operation and incident command skills, and I'll look up and I'll say I've got ICS 400, and then I can add some additional information there to flesh things out. Sometimes when we're looking for highly specialized skills for an operation, the mobilization team will look in this skills area to find them. Okay? Languages, if you speak foreign languages, please be sure to include that information. Again, that could be helpful if you're deployed to an area in which there's a large community that is not speaking, for which English is not a primary language, or other languages can come into play to help us with our response. Deactivate account is something I hope you never do. It's one of those things that's final. You know, you're not going to be able to undo that. It erases everything that you've got there. If it comes to that, you've got that list of local contacts to talk to first to discuss your reasons before deactivating. Here's your deployment information. Okay, Get Deployable is a dashboard that lists those basics that we talked about when we first got started. TR101, your background check, your ICS 100 and 700, and making sure your profile information is up to date. Now note that right now, because of the requirements for gray shirts during the pandemic, ICS 100 and 700 are not required. Highly recommended, but not required because of the urgency of our current responses. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we go back to the mobilization process. There's some things called the assignable reserve and general availability. Make a note. You can just avoid those. Those are something that was tested. They're not being used. There's no reason for you to have to trouble yourself with that. Okay. We have your events, your online training transcript, external document, and community activities. Those are 4 items that I want to call attention to. My events, which in other places in the menu may be called My Registration, is a list of all of the events that you've been registered for. And an event could be a class like this. So if you click on My Events, you will see this class that you're registered for. And you will see, in this case, I just tested out signing up for a couple of operations. But anything you've done that's in person or face-to-face online will show up under the My Events, My Registrations menu. Now, if you've done stuff with classes that are self-guided, you'll find those in the online transcript area. Now, this is an old system that hasn't been merged in the new system yet, so it can be a little bit confusing. So try to remember your transcript is your transcript of classes that were self-guided online. So, for example, if I go to completed, I can see that I completed TR101 and Introduction to Operational Planning are the 2 things that my fake account has completed. Okay. Let me go back. Do it this way, go to another, open the menu fresh. Again, you'll see it in your profile. My events are live, and the real-time online events and the training transcripts are the training that you did online that is self-guided. External documents is a place where you can upload ICS certification. So if you have taken ICS 100 and have taken ICS 700, here's a place where you would upload the document. So I can use a search field here. I can search for ICS. And that should return up. I've got ICS 300 and 400. I think 100 is just called IC. Oops. Let's try the wild card. I'm doing a bad demo. Wild card 100. Okay, there we go, is our IS 100 class. So if I have it, I would select it. I would then have the opportunity to add a file, which is my actual certificate, and submit it. It gets reviewed by a real human being who then will validate it and add it to your file. And you'll be able to go back and see that when you go to your external documents list on roll call. Community activities, and just like any good website, a lot of things appear in multiple places, but community activities is the place where you would register your activities in Neighbors Helping Neighbors. Up top, the neighbors who need service is being demobilized. This part of roll call should be disappearing in a couple of weeks. But this is where, for example, if you're serving now individually, you're going out as a gray shirt, getting someone a prescription, joining one of the food service operations that are going on in your area, and you're able to wear your gray shirt, add your activity, log it in, share your story, and let Team Rubicon know that you're being out there representing. Okay. That's it for what's on the profile menu. If we look at resources here, this is the event menu again. Training opportunities we're going to talk about from another menu in just a second. Reflections. These are stories that gray shirts are telling about what they've been doing, and there's with Team Rubicon, it's their personal Team Rubicon story, and there's an opportunity for you to add your story here. Help is the help menu, which we'll get to from another menu in just a second. And then all gray directives are messages from Team Rubicon. In this case, it's kind of a overall policy statement about COVID-19. So the all gray directives you will find in other places also, especially when you start to deploy. I'm going to go to the top menu, and we're going to quickly look at the calendar. Now, one of the things about the calendar is the calendar, unfortunately, at present does not appear on mobile devices. So if you're on a phone or a tablet, you're not going to be able to see things from this menu. But what we've got here is a list of all of the activities that are happening at Team Rubicon sorted by date. So if I click on today, I'm not going to see this event because it's hidden, but we are going to see that there's an opportunity to do an online ICS 200 class. And there's also a Grab Your Go Bag workshop being done in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Okay. And reset my filters. And then I can sort for other types of training. So let's say what I want to do is look for the Recon Advon classes that are being given live. I would go to event type, national training, and then I can look at the list, and I can see that the Recon Advon class is being offered in December on the 19th. Regardless of which metro a national training is being offered, you can sign up for it no matter where you are. I'm going to click on that class. And I want to register, but I can see that all 15 slots are currently taken, but there is a wait list. If there is a wait list, you could sign up for that because as with this class, there was a wait list. If folks drop out, you can move up the wait list and have the opportunity to participate. Now, if I go back to the calendar and I see there are 2 site survey classes, one being offered on the 6th of December and one being offered on the 20th. If I see that this one is waitlisted, that's my preferred date, but this one has an opportunity, I can waitlist myself on one, sign up for the other, just being sure not to be a dick and be registered for 2 of them at the same time. So if you clear the list for the earlier one, be sure to unenroll for the later one. You can also sort by delivery method. For example, you can look, if you want to, pretty much at all of the virtual trainings. You can look at everything that's being offered in, and this is useful when you're looking for events that are in person when we do those again. So I know I'm close enough to attend events in New Jersey and, New York, there aren't any, and Pennsylvania. So here's all the events in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. I've got a Jersey Thursday coming up next month. There's a virtual gray shirt meetup in Pennsylvania. Okay, so all of these things are in my area. When live events happen again, this is a great way to look and see what's happening in your neck of the woods. Now, if I go to the calendar again, I can get to something called See All Events, which is not really any different from what's on the calendar. It's just that this is in a table view as opposed to a calendar view, and this is what you would see on a mobile device. Excuse me, my brain had a hiccup there. This is what you see on mobile. So here you can sort again. You can look for event type and enter national to find those national trainings, and you'll see a list of the national training events. If you happen to know the specific event name, you can look for it that way. I want to look for live events when those come back in New Jersey. Here I go, I can find them. Or if I want to look at all the events, whether virtual or in person in the mighty Northeast Territory, I can enter Northeast here and find all of the events that are available. I can sort them by start date, I can sort them by state, etc. It's all here. One of the things you'll notice is there's also operations. We have a flood response operation in DC right now. We have a COVID testing support operation in Puerto Rico right now. All of these things are appearing on the same list as training events, so you can do your one-stop shopping on roll call. So if I click on Training Center and I go search for events, it's going to take me to that table view that I just came from. Okay? As I said, a good website gives you many ways to get to things. That's just one of them. Find an online course takes me to a menu of online classes. Okay? These are the classes, the online classes. This menu, let's remember, is only for those classes that are self-paced. The classes like this one, where you've got an instructor, are going to be found on that other table that I sent you. So if I'm looking for the self-paced Recon Advan class, I'm not sure. Oh, no, it's called Operational Planning. I can find it here. And again, in your Linkorama, you're going to have access to recording of this so you can review it. And you'll also have some roll call navigation tips and quick links to help you easily find things in case this stuff doesn't stick. Flash Learning is a set of quickie video-like learnings mostly on safety during the COVID pandemic. There's some really good stuff here. These things are at most a couple of minutes long. They're kind of fun. I recommend if you're thinking about getting deployed or going out on your own and neighbors helping neighbors, that you run through all of these because they're pretty valuable. And then add external documents. We've already seen that because that exists in other menus. And then my events are the things that you've already registered for, whether it's an in-person training, whether it's a live instructed training, or whether it's operational deployment, it's there. Okay. Trusted external resources are, hit the wrong button, are outside resources that may be of interest to you. Wounded Warrior Project, assistance if you need immediate crisis support for yourself or others, and other folks who Team Rubicon works with. And then at the bottom, although I think that should be at the top, these are links to our wellness team. TR wellness managers and teams are there to help you with whatever you may be going through, just to talk, to connect, and to help you find other resources. It's a great first point of contact if you're troubled, and if you're in need of a mental or a physical solution to your problems. Your Team Rubicon Wellness team, like I said, is a great first point of contact for you. All right, we're going to go to the help desk, which is only a little bit confusing in that when you open it, you're not going to get right to where you need to be. But if you click open a ticket, you have the option to open a new help desk ticket, get assistance with something technical on roll call, or a question that your local leadership says, I can't really figure this out, or you need to change your email address or something else that requires you getting technical support. This will be the place to do it. There's also a knowledge base here that answers a bunch of questions on a bunch of different topics. For example, what's the reimbursement policy for expenses that I incur when I'm traveling? We'll get to that again in the third part of our presentation, but all of that is there. For the help desk, again, in the Linkorama that I send you, I will be sending you quick links to both the Open a Help Desk ticket and the knowledge base, so you can go immediately there. And then here's a quick link to the store, which gets you to the place where you can buy some cool TR stuff. Okay? And remember where you can shop, where you can get the password rather, to the members only area is right at the top of your profile.